Good morning, everyone. So today is the very first day of my obstetrics and gynecology rotation, or for short, OBS-GYN. It is 6 o'clock in the morning right now. It is way too early for me, but let's see how the rest of the day goes. We have a series of lectures and workshops lined up for us, and now I'm gonna get ready to head over to the hospital. See you there! Okay, so we arrived at the hospital and I have no idea where I'm going, so we'll see where we're gonna end up. So after asking for help, I was able to get my bearings and get directed towards a different building, which was basically a totally different area from where I came in. So I walked really fast to go over and find the orientation room, and was very grateful to see some familiar faces who were just as equally lost as I was. We then found the orientation room and were given these pregnancy wheels, as well as getting prepped for our lectures. And they also provided breakfast, some muffins, some snacks, coffee, tea. And of course, the day where I spent most of my time inside, it was a very nice and sunny day outside. After our orientation, we were brought down to the simulation area where we would be split into small groups and undergo a series of sims and other activities. One of our first stations was to do a complete history on a patient, so I really had no idea what I was doing half the time. Then we had another station where we practiced our surgical sutures, and we didn't have many materials to go around, so I had to practice on a chair myself. Okay, so it is now 4:30 p.m. We finally finished for the day. Basically, I was here at the hospital from 7 a.m. till 4:30, and we have another day of lectures and simulations scheduled tomorrow at a different hospital. So let's go home, get some much needed sleep, finish off some homework, and then get started again tomorrow morning. See you then! Good morning. We are now on day 2 of orientation, and that means we're at a different hospital today. So let's see how the day goes. So in today's episode of Louisa Tries Not to Get Lost in the Hospital went much better because it really wasn't as big and the hallway wasn't as long for me to try and find the orientation area. And today we got more muffins again, and of course some fruits to have a balanced meal.
You can add in methyl dopa, which is another medication that's safe in pregnancy and often used. The company's name for methyl dopa is Aldamet. You hear that one, but it's again.
Also, for those who are brave enough to ask, I wanted to put my food into a fridge because I didn't want it to go bad, and so one of the physicians actually was super nice and helped me get to one of the staff lounges in the hospital here. It was very luxurious and I could put my food in the fridge so it wouldn't go bad. One of the lectures we had in the afternoon was learning how to put on personal protective equipment properly. So things like putting on surgical sterile gloves, putting on gowns, and we were given our proper glove sizes. And then we had to watch a video together and go through the motions as a class to put on gloves as if we were in the operating room. So that was very entertaining to just all go do it together. And then we had a PPE race, which was hilarious because it was just watching all our classmates face off against each other and see who would be the fastest to put on their PPE. Honestly, I feel like most of us broke sterile field anyways. So after the 2 days of orientations and lectures, we were then assigned to our hospitals and we went for our hospital orientation and tour. If you've watched my previous videos, you may recognize that this is the same hospital location where I had my internal medicine rotation at. Afterwards, we learned how to scrub, and if you've done shadowing before and have scrubbed into an OR, this is probably nothing new to you, but I haven't had an opportunity to go do an OR day during my first 2 years, so this was actually my very first time learning how to scrub, and it was a totally new experience. and also very enlightening on just how clean we need to be going into the OR. Hey guys! So we are now finished orientation for the day, and that means I get to go home and get some studying done. Tomorrow is the first day of clinic for me, and I start off the rotation with that. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, see you then. Good morning. It's my first day of obstetrics and gynecology clinic. So let's see how it goes today. So when I was in clinic, in general, I didn't have much time to document my experiences in real time just because I was pretty busy running around seeing patients, not unlike family medicine. So I finished my shifts at the clinic today. It went really well. I saw a ton of cervical exams, and also we did some endometrial biopsies. There's actually one patient who had a bicornate uterus, which means they have 2 uteruses and 2 cervixes, so that was pretty wild to see. I've never seen that before. And also I got to do a prenatal history, so that was nice. Throwback to peds. Feels like peds just keeps appearing everywhere in my last few rotations. Anyways, tomorrow is going to be my first day on call at the hospital, so we'll see you then. Bye! Good morning. So today is my first day on call, and I'm just a bit late, so I'm sprinting to make sure I find the team on time for rounding. Okay, we'll let you know how it goes. Bye! So for the record, I did find the team, but I was late, so that kind of sucked. Anyways, let's see how my day went. Hey guys, so I finished my call for today. I finished at 6 o'clock technically, but they let me out early, which was really nice. And it actually went really well. I was really chill. I didn't feel rushed at all to see any of the patients, and I got lots of time to kind of review and figure out my differential, figure out my management plan. And I even got to help with the vaginal delivery for a baby, and I got to deliver the placenta, so that went really well in that case. Good morning. It's my first day at the operating room on this rotation, and we are now going up the elevator to meet the team for rounding. We'll see how it goes. So obviously I was traumatized from the previous experience of being late to rounding, so I definitely did not want that to happen again. So I made sure I arrived early and I would be ready to go when rounding started. After rounding, our senior resident was super nice and got us coffee. I don't drink coffee, so I got hot chocolate. Then it was time to get ready, get dressed, and get scrubbed in for OR day. The cases went by quickly, and so did the day, and it was time for a little snack in between the cases. And then the same senior resident, bless her soul, bought us some pierogies. That was absolutely delicious and a perfect snack around lunchtime. And what was awesome was my friend was doing her anesthesiology elective, so I got to hang out with her in the OR. Oh, sorry, I mean... After the cases were finished for the day, it was time to review some notes, make some last few comments on the patient files, and then submit my evaluations before heading up for my overnight call shift. So the OR went really well today. We did a few different cases. They weren't all the same. We did a couple hysteroscopies with a dilatation and curettage. We also had a laparoscopy, and it was a removal of the right fallopian tube and the ovary as well. And I actually got to put in my first Foley catheter, so that was super exciting. And then I also got to practice my first bimanual exam, which is basically an examination of the uterus, but the inside, so that went really well. I also got to try my first sutures, and that didn't go so well. I was able to get the sutures in, but I wasn't really able to complete it, so the patient was starting to wake up, and they decided to just kind of push me aside and said, okay, we're gonna do the rest of the sutures. So there's that. And it was a bit of a struggle this morning because my hair is like super fluffy in general, so I have to like put all my hair inside and that way not break the sterile field, which, by the way, I almost did a few times. That was pretty stressful. And really just being in the OR is just trying to figure out what's your role here. So yeah, and now I'm just gonna get some lunch, eat that, head up to my call room and hopefully put my stuff away. And then afterwards, going to see if the case room, where I'll be mostly hanging out there for my overnight call, will need some help with history taking or seeing some patients. Okay, bon appetit. After having my afternoon snack, aka my late lunch, it was now time to find the call room. I will say this was a pretty difficult room to find because it was hidden behind the NICU area, which is hidden behind the Obstetrics and Gynecology area, and so it was very much a maze to try and find, and I had to make a tutorial video actually for some of my classmates in order to find the room properly. So this is the call room for Obstetrics and Gynecology. It's actually pretty hidden, so I got lost a few times trying to find this room, which surprisingly I was able to find it in less than 10 minutes. That's a really good time for me. So I actually like it a lot more than the call rooms I had for internal med and pediatrics, and mainly because, first of all, it's a little bit more secluded, so it doesn't get too noisy. For internal med, I found that specifically by the door, if you watch my video for internal med, there was actually a separate door right beside, and people had to scan in there, so it actually was pretty noisy at times. And this one actually has a window, so both internal med and peds did not have a window as part of their call room, so at least it gets some natural sunlight before it gets dark. So over to the right of our door, we have these two lockers. I use this one here just to store my jackets, just so that I create more space in the room. And then in this other locker here, we have some extra cushions. I honestly don't know if it's clean or not, so I'm not going to touch that. We also have what looks to be a thick book. And wow, it's the Toronto Notes, but 2005, so I really have no idea if this is up to date. But yeah, good resource, I guess. And then over on the top here, it looks like we have some coffee. Again, I have no idea how long that's been sitting up there, so I will not be drinking that. And also, I don't drink coffee. Then we have our bed here, which I will be setting up with my usual plan of an extra blanket. And then we have the blinds here. And getting my vitamin D, really important, because we live in an area where there's just not enough vitamin D in general. And you can also close it at night like that. Very lovely, but I'm just going to keep it open because I want that sunlight. And my call bag is here. And we have this desk here with a phone that I probably will not use unless I need to call. And then my backpack is here, and then we have the usual connected washroom. I'm just going to make sure no one's inside. Oh, it is dark, that's good. And let's turn the light here. So we have our standard washroom, and this one does also have a shower. Let's take a look. Looks pretty empty. The joke is that in obstetrics and gynecology, you only touch your bed basically never. So yeah, that is my call room, and I'm just going to be putting my stuff here before I head over for my actual night shift. Hey, bye! So at 6 o'clock, I did handover with my classmate and got ready to see the patients on the floor. So I signed up for a few patients to follow along, and now it's time for some dinner before things get busy. See you! And I'm really glad I went for some food because it got super busy real fast. And because we were doing C-sections, that meant I was going to practice my cutting skills with the straights. Hello! So I just snuck off here to say a few words, get a quick snack because I'm pretty hungry after everything that's happened since dinner time. So mainly, there was a vaginal delivery I was a part of. I honestly did not have time to even witness what happened. I came in, put on my gloves, and I turned around and the baby was out. So yeah, totally missed that. And then at least I got a chance to deliver the placenta by myself. So that was super exciting, feeling very proud of myself. Now, we just did a C-section. Initially, we were trying to have the patient deliver through vaginal delivery, but it wasn't working, unfortunately, even with the epidural and the oxytocin. So we had to do an emergency C-section, and it's my first time ever assisting with a C-section. So for the most part, I was pretty lost. I really wasn't sure what I was supposed to do besides try not to break the sterile field. But my R1, or the first year resident, was super kind, and she kept pointing to me, okay, go here, do that, don't forget to do this. And that was really kind of her, so very grateful to have her around. It's just past midnight, so we'll see just how much sleep I get tonight, if any at all. I'm gonna get my snack now. We'll catch up later. a few more C-sections later, and I was kind of starting to get tired a little bit, and this is how it looked like. Hello, it is now past 2 a.m. We finished our second C-section, and now I'm following a patient that's currently laboring, but they haven't made too much progress, and so I'm just waiting for something to happen. Getting pretty tired here. We'll see if we get any sleep tonight. Alright, that's my update. Talk to you later. So the baby just got delivered and I assisted with the suturing afterwards. Oh, and I also delivered the placenta again. So that's the second placenta I've delivered. Hoping next time I'll be able to assist with the vaginal delivery. So it's now close to 3 a.m. now. I'm gonna try and get some shut-eye. I might get called for another C-section or whatever it might be. So let's get some rest and see you later. Okay, so it's around 4:45 right now. I'm just trying to check to see if there's anything going on over at the triage. Okay, bye. So it's now almost 6:30. That's time for handover. So we're gonna head over there and hopefully get out of here soon. Okay, bye. Okay, so they told me to go home, which is great news. So it's now time to go home and get sleep. That's the end of my first call shift here. So in total, I think I got about maybe 2 hours of sleep, which I think is pretty good, as some of my classmates didn't get any sleep at all on some of their overnight calls. So it's now time to pack up, head home, and get out of here. Good morning. So I've mostly recovered from post-call or after my night call shifts. And now today is going to be C-section day. So I'm going to go and get scrubbed in and get ready for the cases for the day. See you then! So for this rotation, each day we're assigned to a different location. So you've seen the other days where I've been either on call or in the OR or in clinic, and today I'm in the C-section area. Hey there! So we are finished all the C-sections for today, and it went really well actually. It was my first day totally just doing C-sections for this rotation, and I think my absolute favorite for today was being able to be part of the delivery of twins during the C-section, and they were super chubby and super cute. As a medical student, I don't do a whole ton of the actual procedure or the suturing for the most part. I was really responsible for using the straights, which is a type of scissors used in surgery to cut the sutures, and basically as the doctor was using the sutures and closing up after the C-section, I'd be using those straights to make the snips at the ends of the sutures. Now what's interesting is that because of how we're positioned at the operating table, often you have to use the left hand to make those snips with the straights. And it's interesting because I do use my left hand for some things I do, but when I use scissors, like normal scissors, I use my right hand. So it was a bit challenging first to have to use the straights with my technically non-dominant hand, but with the help of a lovely resident and lots of practice, I managed to make some pretty good snips, and I was pretty proud of myself by the end of the day. So yeah, that's really what's going on now, and the plan is to wait for my preceptor to finish doing paperwork so that we can do a debrief together, go over what I did well today and what I could do to improve for next time, and that's it. Alright, we'll see you for another day next time. Bye! Hey guys! So today's a bit of a different day. Today, I was at the OR this morning. We started with our 6:30 a.m. rounding as usual, and then we did some procedures in the OR. We did some laparoscopies. We also removed some ovaries as well as fallopian tubes. And then now for this afternoon, I'm heading over to a subspecialty clinic. So specifically, I'm doing Gynecology, or basically malignancies of the female reproductive system. So I'm taking the transit to get there, and we'll see how it goes. See you then. So I took the public transit to the Cross Cancer Institute, which is a building located just off the main university campus. This is where the Gynecology clinic is located. And essentially what the Cross Cancer Institute is, it's a cancer center for prevention, research, and treatment of cancer. And the center provides inpatient and outpatient services for cancer patients, as well as advanced medical and supportive cancer care, and focusing on patient and professional education. So not surprisingly, I was lost once again in a different building, and a volunteer was kind enough to show me how to get to where I needed to go for the Gynecology clinic. So I was able to find the clinic, and so I headed through the side door where I was able to find the working area with all the physicians, residents, students, and other healthcare professionals. It's a very neat office setup because here was the main area for all the staff members to convene, and then all those doors you see on the sides were actually doors to the examination room. So the patient came through on the other side, and we would go through on this side to go see patients. Hey guys, so I am finished my shift at the clinic for Gynecology Oncology. It went really well. I got to see 2 different patients, take a history, discuss with the preceptor about sort of the next steps, and both of them are gonna go for surgery. So basically what I kind of understood for Gynecology Oncology, it's not only kind of using imaging to sort of guide what you think might be the best course of action for the patient, but it's also a combination with kind of general surgery procedures, because ultimately the oncologist will do the procedure, open up the patient, and send off whatever they find inside for pathology and to see if it's cancerous or non-cancerous. So it's just really interesting to see all those different elements of medicine put together in one position. So I really enjoyed that, and it's now time to head home. See you then! Bye! So the rotation went by in a blur, and before I knew it, it was the last day of the rotation with my final exams looming. I already finished my morning exam, which was an OSCE or the oral exam, and here I am studying for my written exam in the afternoon, which is consisting of multiple choice questions and a short answer. I then arrived at the computer lab, which is where we take all our exams in first, second, as well as third year so far. And let's do this. Hey guys, so this is the last day of my obstetrics and gynecology rotation, and we just finished our multiple choice exam. That wasn't too bad, I would say. I will say the OSCE, which we did this morning, was definitely on the hard side, and there were a few stations where unfortunately I didn't get to finish my answers to what I wanted to say in those stations. So hopefully everything goes well when the results come out. Anyways, I just wanted to share my thoughts about this rotation. I would say it was a really fun rotation actually, and even though there were a lot of sleepless nights, I still got to experience a lot of different things. I think what's really nice about this rotation is it's a nice little introduction to surgery before your surgical rotation. And that was kind of how my schedule worked out, is I have this rotation first and then I have surgery later on. So I gotta try different surgical skills first so that I can feel a little bit more confident going into my surgery rotation. Also, a few other things is, first of all, be ready to not get enough sleep on your overnight call shifts. I will say that I slept much more on my internal medicine overnight call shifts in comparison to these ones. And often, a lot of the times where I was called or paged from my call room was to go and help with a immediate C-section. Second of all, definitely do lots of practicing for your surgical sutures and surgical skills, because often the attendings and the residents, they'll give you lots of opportunities to practice your sutures and your hand ties. So when you do get the opportunity, and especially if you're thinking about going for a surgical specialty, it'll look really good if you practice beforehand and you can show them that you feel confident doing these sutures and these hand ties. I will say that I was very moderate at them. Like, I could do my hand ties not too bad, but I was definitely a bit clumsy with the surgical sutures. So that's something I'll have to practice lots before I start my surgery rotation, which is 2 rotations away as I'm on electives next. And third of all, sometimes things get really busy on the ward or during the OR days. And sometimes it's easy for the attendings and the residents to forget that you're there because they have so many things going on. And of course, they have to prioritize the patient's needs first. So if you ever feel like that, just make sure that you talk to them and you make yourself known and that you're eager and you're willing to do things and to get lots of exposure. And the more that you talk to the team members, the more practice you'll get and the more exposure you'll get. And I found myself sometimes, especially on day call or even sometimes an overnight call, that when the residents and the attendants got really busy, I still try to walk around, talk to the other healthcare team members like the nurses and the respiratory therapists, and I still made sure that they knew I was there. So I would talk to them, kind of say that, hey, I want to do this, hey, I'm following this patient, so that they know that, yes, this medical student is around, and that way you'll get lots of practice and lots of experience, and they won't forget that you're there. Okay, well, that's my thoughts on obstetrics and gynecology. As you know, I love babies and I love cute babies, so I really enjoyed especially the obstetrics part of the rotation. Next up is electives, so we'll see you then. Bye! So after my exam, I decided to head over to a mall to do some de-stress shopping. I went to go check out Hudson Bay because it's closing down, and while the sales were not exactly the most impressive sales I've ever seen, it's still sad to see such an iconic store go. So rest in peace, Hudson Bay. You were great while you lasted. If you enjoyed this video or would like to watch more content like this, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. See you then for the next video.